Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well today. Now in this lesson, I want to show you how you can make your application's UI really feel like it's alive and make it feel like it's super interactive. So what exactly am I talking about? Well, let me show you inside of the simulator on the left side over there. And you see we have this download progress bar, and right behind it, we have this pulsating circle that makes your application really feel like it's moving and it's super interactive, right? So in today's lesson, I want to show you exactly how to implement this feature. It's actually pretty easy, so let's dive into Xcode and see the implementation right now. Alright, so let me take you back inside of Xcode, and I'm going to run my project right now to show you where we left off in episode 2 of this animation series. And basically what we have is a circle over there. Once we tap onto the screen, we get the animation of this circular outline that tracks the progress of our download task, somewhere down below in this view controller file, somewhere over here. And that's pretty good. Make sure you get caught up with episode 2 before you continue on with today's video. Now, the question here is, how do I add in this pulsating layer back here? So this pulsating layer, well, it's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to show you how easy it is to do here. So the first thing I'll do is to go all the way up to the view controller class and create this pulsating layer. And let me make it be of type CA shape layer. And to make it super easy today, I'm going to include the bang right here so I don't have to unwrap it later. Okay, so make sure you do that. And with this pulsating layer, what I'm going to do is to head back into the viewDidLoad function. And so somewhere down here, let me just remove this space. This is the track layer, which is this gray layer that you see, this gray circle. That's a track layer. And somewhere down here, I'm going to say pulsating layer. And I'm going to set it equal to a CA shape layer so that I can add it into the view later. And so the question is, what exactly is the path of this layer? Well, I'm going to copy a lot of this code up above that belongs to the track layer. Paste that below the pulsating layer, replace all of this code, and just copy and paste. Remove that line as well, and you should be okay. So before you can actually see this pulsating layer inside of the view, you have to add it to the view's sublayer. So layer add sublayer of the pulsating layer. And what I want to do to make it super obvious what is going on is I want to replace the fill color of the pulsating layer with yellow instead. And let me give the stroke color of clear. And now I can run my code and hopefully I can see this inside of my view controller once it's up. So we should be seeing a yellow kind of circle dot in the middle of the screen. So pretty good. And if you want to put the completion percentage label back inside of the screen, you can add it at the very bottom there and everything should be okay. All right, so pretty good. And we have a lot of code here that I actually want to fix. So the first thing I want to kind of do here is to animate the pulsating layer somehow. So let's just add the code over here. So animate pulsating layer. And this is a custom function that I will kind of include somewhere over here. So go below the viewDidLoad, create a private function of animate pulsating layer. And the question is, how do I make my layers kind of pulsate with this effect like that? Well, it's pretty easy if we use this thing called a basic animation again. So let animation equals basic animation of CA basic animation. And here I'll use a key path of some kind of string. And the way the animation will work is I'm going to animate something called the transform. So transform dot scale. So what's happening is this circle in the back is constantly scaling up and down. So that's the scale. And what I'm going to do is to actually set the animation to value to something. So let me just set it to 1.5, meaning the circle will be scaled up 1.5. All right. And finally, what you have to do is a pulsating layer dot add. You want to add in this basic animation from above, just like that. And the key, you can specify anything you want as long as it's some kind of unique string. And to kind of finish up here, I want to include a duration of, let's say, 5 seconds to make it actually visible. And now I can run my code. And basically during the viewDidLoad phase, we're going to add the pulsating layer, and then we're going to animate it like that. So you see it's kind of growing, right? So pretty good. And then once it finishes scaling to 1.5 over here, we actually remove the animation, so it kind of reverts back to its original state. Okay, so maybe I want to bring up my console over here to give myself a little bit of space to work with. And what do I want to do to make it have that pulsating effect where the actual circle comes back down to the middle and it kind of scales back to 1, right? So the way you have to do this is to kind of do a couple of things. So I'm going to set animation reverses or auto reverses equals to true. And you also have to set this thing called repeat count. And I basically want to repeat by infinity. So you can say float dot infinity. And what that will have, or what kind of effect that'll have, is basically it just keeps pulsating like that. So let me run my code one more time, and you'll see the circle pulsating back and forth. And then we'll kind of add some extra modifications to it. So it grows, grows, grows. And after 5 seconds, it kind of shrinks back down to the middle. So that's how that works. And the way that the pulsating is working in the kind of finished app over here is I believe the duration is a lot shorter. So I have 0.8 seconds like that. And then I also have something called a timing function on this animation. So you kind of see the animation isn't linear, meaning there's an acceleration and a deceleration. So you want to add a CA media timing function with some kind of name. And this is going to be, let's see, CA media timing function ease out. So that's kind of what I have. And let me just take this back down to perhaps 1.3 for the scale so it doesn't grow too large. And now I can run my code and you'll see what kind of effect that has with the circle. So that's kind of pulsing back and forth like so. And that's pretty good. All right, so now let's move on to how we can move this pulsating view behind everything inside of our view controller so that it kind of looks like this over here. So that's behind the rings. And the way I'm going to do that is to first go back into the view.load function, and I want to set the background color of my view controller to be something really dark, for example this over here, instead of that white color. And the way I'm going to do that is to first copy over a file that I have in another project and just kind of drag it into here. Let me show you what's inside of this extensions file. So we have background color, the stroke colors, and also the pulsating fill color. And I just don't want to type out all of this, so let me just make it faster for you to just get that file over there. And what I can do now is to just say UI color dot background color, and now I can run my application to show you the very dark background color that I have inside of my application. Okay, so let me run that, and you see it's very, very dark, right? And now what I want to do is to actually bring the pulsating layer behind the track layer. So I'm going to do that with this bit of code. Let me just cut that. And I believe what I can do is to put a extra space there and put all the pulsating layer above. So pretty good. And now I can run my code. The pulsating layer will be now behind the track layer. So kind of looks like that over there. You click on this, you'll see that the red is kind of circulating like that. And to block out the middle portion of this pulsating circle, all you have to do is to either set the track layer fill color or the shape layer fill color to be something. So this, I'm going to use the UI color background color and run this one more time. So again, the background color comes from the extension file right here, background color. And now we can run our code, and you see our kind of background over here is blocking out the pulsating view. So really good stuff. And to make this look a lot closer to what I have in my finished application over there, what I can do is to modify the fill color over here. So let's see, UI color of pulsating fill color, that comes from that extension. And then the track layer, I believe I want to change the stroke color over here to be, let's see, track stroke color. And then the shape layer, which is this red circle over there, you want to change that to be the stroke color of, let's see, outline stroke color. And I might as well change the line width to 20. So let me change it to 20 over here, 20 over there. And I don't think it matters for the pulsating layer because we don't have a stroke. It's just a clear color. And so I can run my code now, and you see what I have here is pretty much what I have in my finished version of the application. So the one problem that you see is the percentage label is really, really dark. So if you go back up to the very top, you can modify the label's text color to be just dot white, and you should be okay. And I can run my code one more time, you'll see what effect that has with the percentage label. So that's what it says, the start over there. And you're missing the status bar. Well, it's actually there, but the color is really dark. You can modify your code to be preferred status bar style, brace, return dot light content is what you need, I believe. Don't really know sometimes if this actually works, but I think it'll work for us today. And we get the white status bar above. All right, so really good stuff. And what I want to kind of tell you about right now is that there's a bug with animations if you actually exit your application to the home screen. So I'm going to kind of bring this to the side over there, hit the home, and then open up my application one more time. You'll see that the animation is now gone. So what you have to do is you actually have to monitor for when your application kind of goes into the home state or the background state and foreground state for your application's lifecycle. So what I'm going to do is to go into view to load. I'm going to say set up notification observers as a function, and I will copy this just to make it easier. I'll paste it up here as a private function like that, and we'll say notification center dot default, and you have to say add observer. And just use the observer itself. The selector will be pound selector, and this will say handle, enter foreground, whatever you want to call this custom function that you create down below with add objective C private function, handle enter foreground, brace, and inside of here you just want to say dot foreground, and you'll get the correct notification name. So we'll enter foreground there, and just object of nil. All right, so instead of handle foreground, you just want to call animate circle or animate pulsating circle again, and you should be fine. So let's see what that does by running our code. And basically, let me just put a breakpoint on line 35. If I hit Command Shift H, that brings me home, and then if I reopen it, it'll launch this bit of code over here. So it's kind of stuck. The breakpoint is entered. Hit the continue, and the animation continues on with the effect of the pulsating. Okay, so pretty good job so far, and we're pretty much done with the implementation. But one thing that you really have to do before you leave your code like this is to refactor it so that it becomes more readable for other people that look at your code, and also for whenever you revisit your code, whenever you have to look at it again. And this right here is really hard to understand because there's just so many lines of code. And so how do I want to go about refactoring out some of this stuff over here? Well, first, let me just remove these comments that I don't need. And the thing that's kind of common and reoccurring between all of these lines of code is that we are using all of these path, stroke colors, fill colors, line cap, and position in all of these lines over here and over here as well. So let's refactor out this so that we don't have to constantly call these 5-6 lines of code. So the way I'm going to do this is to perhaps, let's see, cut this over here. So let me just copy that, and somewhere up here I will say, let's see, private function create, see a circle shape layer, use a function like that, and return some kind of CA shape layer, and just brace. And let me just paste this code in here, and I'll use this as sort of a template. So let's see, layer equals CA shape layer. So I can just remove this, hit delete, copy that, paste that in there, paste, and paste. And then finally, you just want to return this layer out like that. All right, so Really good job there. And what that means is I can simply replace all of this code with create circle shape layer. And now I can run my code again. So that's a good trick. And what I want to do is I also need this circular path object. So let me copy that as well inside of this refactored function. So paste that in there, run my code, and hopefully everything builds. It should run in just a moment here. And what we can get is pretty much exactly what we had before. And so that's a good sign that everything's working. And so what I'm going to do is to make this refactoring even better by including the stroke color and the fill color as two parameters inside of this function over here. So let's say, I don't know, stroke color. What comes first? Stroke color. Let it be of UI color type, and fill color as well be of UI color type. And I will use the stroke color instead of this color over here. So let's just use the stroke color, and the fill color. Let's use the fill color coming in from the parameter list above. So paste that in there, and hopefully I should be able to run this now. So this below the pulsating layer, this function now requires the two parameter calls of stroke color. So stroke color is, I believe, the clear color, and then I have the fill color. And let's see, what is this? UI color dot pulsating fill color. And running the code now, you'll get the exact same effect, but now your function is much more flexible in terms of what it's able to do. So everything still looks okay. And down here, I can replace the track layer. So let's see, the track layer is up here, and I want to create this kind of sequentially. Not that it matters, but create circle shape layer with the stroke color over there, the UI color, just background color. I think I can do dot and dot. Does that work? I want to see if that actually works, and that seems like it's okay. Let me remove that. Run the code one more time. I believe the pulsating layer should be somewhere over here instead. Make sure everything is grouped nicely, and just copy that. So one thing that's wrong over here is the line width needs to be 20. So let me change that back to 20. And one other thing to actually complete here is the shape layer creation using the create circle shape layer method. So you can do that by saying something like shape layer equals create circle shape layer. This is the stroke color, so dot outline stroke color, and the fill color will be the clear color down below over here. So let me just remove these lines of code. And you can't really build this right now because shape layer is a let instead of a var, so you have to fix what you get. Hopefully that works, is this over here. So you don't exactly want to do this. You just want to say bang and let it be a type instead of equal. And now you should be okay. So kind of very similar to how pulsating layer is being created. And now everything looks like it's kind of good to go here. So the circular path, we don't need this inside of the view to load function. And now everything looks a lot better, although there is still a bunch of code. So how do we want to further refactor this to make it even better? Well, how about we take all of the layer setup code. Let's just copy here. So I'm going to cut this, and then down below I'll say private functions setup circle layers, and just brace, paste all of that code in there. And you can just say setup circle layers. And what do we want to do for this? I can actually cut this as well for the percentage label stuff, and just say set up percentage labels label. See private function setup percentage label, and paste all that code in there as well. So now our view to load is much cleaner. You don't have to kind of look at all these lines if you don't want to. Just read it, one line at a time, kind of like that. And everything looks good. And if you want to make this even cleaner, one thing I do recommend is to probably refactor these functions as well, or these 3 lines into a separate function. But this looks okay to me. And yeah. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for today's video, as well as this entire series on how we can use animations to make our application look a lot better. Now, if you're interested in more Swift development lessons, make sure to check out the Instagram Firebase course using the link down below. Finally, make sure to leave a thumbs up for the video if you enjoyed it, and also consider subscribing to the channel. That's going to be it for me today. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye everyone.